If you want to feel more connected to humanity and a little less alone, listen to Beautiful Anonymous. Each week, I take a phone call from one random anonymous human being. There's over 400 episodes in our back catalog. You get to feel connected to all these different people all over the world. Recent episodes include one where a lady survived a murder attempt by her own son. But then the week before that, we just talked about Star Trek. It can be anything. It's unpredictable. It's raw. It's real. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Hey guys, welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. It's Shannon. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today. I first want to kick it off with a recent review. This is from a Sarah TL16. She says, 5 stars, great info. Love the nuts and bolts info provided on the podcast. I'm planning to host my first retreat soon, whoop whoop, and have really enjoyed all the info Shannon provides and insights from a venue owner. So great job, Sarah. Thank you so much for leaving that review. Y'all, reviews mean everything to us. I read every single one of them, and they really help us to get incredible guests like who we have on today. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because I think many of you listening are going to be like, no, that is not what I want to hear, but it is so important. And y'all, it's super fun. So welcome Jacob Hicks to the show.
Oh, Shannon, thank you so much. And what a great intro. Congrats on the review too. That's fantastic.
Thank you. So Jacob, before we dig into our topic today, could you just tell everybody like who you are and what you do, what got you to where you are today?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, and this might give away our topic a little bit, but so I've been in sales for 10 and 12 years now. But now I am a full-time success coach. Usually I work with folks, either true salespeople that are just trying to get things to the next level, get things figured out a little bit, or entrepreneurial-minded folks that need to get like their sales processes and their sales systems really dialed in to making sure they're not leaving money on the table. I said, been in sales for a long time, but I realized that coaching is that's literally what I love doing. I like working with people primarily one-on-one as much as I can, just because we can really dive deep into, their goals and what they're looking for. I mean, that's really my sweet spot.
Okay, this is why I love this topic so much, Jacob, because those folks listening right now are thinking, yeah, but I'm not a salesperson, or I don't really need help in the sales department. They're thinking more like marketing. They're like, I need help marketing. Guess what, y'all? You are selling. If you own a business in any way, shape, or form, you're selling and you need to hone in on this. And if I'm being honest, if you are alive and breathing, you're a salesperson in some way.
Yep.
So, Jacob, those that are listening really struggle with this. Could we first just talk about like why having that kind of mindset and not blocking out that word or saying, I don't want to be that person, like why that is important to not have that attitude and to really embrace selling?
Well, you're actually absolutely right, Shannon. So, I mean, if you are alive, you are a salesperson, in my opinion. And the truth is that if you are in business of any kind that hopefully is making money and generating revenue, then you are selling something. I mean, that's the retreats. It could be, like a product. I mean, it could be a service of some sort. If you are selling something. And the truth is, I'm a really, really strong believer that I believe it all comes down to our systems. And the truth is that everybody has systems. It just depends on how intentional we are with them. So the easiest example that I can give you in the sales terms is follow-up. So follow-up is absolutely critical. I talk about it a lot. Follow-up is essentially like you and I meet at some networking event, and we hit it off, we exchange contact information. So what is the next step? And very, very often, and I can give you some stats on this. It's a little bit scary, but there are stats out there that like true salespeople, the people that are actually paid to sell, those people, generally speaking, about 1 in 2 don't follow up more than once. But 80% of business has been proven. 80% of business is 1 in 5 or more follow-ups. So I mean, this is really, really critical because if you are meeting somebody at a networking event, you hit it off, you call them once, you never hear from them again, you are leaving the majority of your business on the table.
Okay, this is really yummy because I can tell you right now that most retreat leaders probably suck in this area. And what I mean is like whether it's they met somebody in person, they had somebody reach out through social media, somebody sent an email, whatever the touch point is, they just either sometimes they fail to respond, period, or even
Yep.
reach out once. But to
Mhm.
your point, then they might reach out once. Yeah, here's the information. And then it dies. And it
Yep.
goes nowhere. And I
Mhm.
think you said something just now, or at least I heard it this way. But there's some information out there that it takes anywhere from 5 up to 10, sometimes 12 touch points before someone will actually do business with you. Can you kind of
100%.
talk about this, like this whole theory that you can't let this is so important. You can't let this go.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of kind of general things that we're talking about here. So, I mean, the first thing in terms of sales, we're talking about follow up, like I said before. And follow up is everything from I meet Shannon at some networking event, and then every single time that I reach out to her from then on is a touch point of some sort. That's part of following up. Now, follow up does not mean that Shannon is responding to me in any way. Following up means that I am reaching out to her via email, text, calls, whatever it might be, some form or fashion to make sure I'm staying in front of her. Now, a lot of times, this is why like there a lot of times there's this caveat where people think like, oh, sales. I don't want to be a salesperson because they think of like the used car salesman or the people at the mall that are trying to get you to buy their lotion. Like they don't want to be that person. And I don't want you to be that person either. When I'm talking about follow up, you want to do it in a consistent manner that is providing value to people. Now, a lot of people, they think about sales, they think about follow, they think, okay, I met Shannon at a networking event. I want to see if I can set up a coffee with her to sell her stuff. And I call her again and again until she buys my stuff. And you don't want to do it that way. Like that comes across as pushy. And at the end of the day, relationships are what sells. You want to build a relationship with these people. So in order to build a relationship, it's the same as like going on a date. If you go on a date and nobody asks any questions, how great was that date? Probably not all that great. So you want to like ask some questions. Usually, again, broad strokes here. Usually, in order to get somebody to buy, we need to identify 4 different pain points. And again, generally speaking, to identify those 4 points, we need to ask at least 12 questions. So we need to make sure that we are coming from curiosity. And people can panic sometimes when I talk about following up. But when I say follow with value, there you are the expert in your business. I tell this to people all the time. You know the most about your business. There's nobody in this world that knows more about it. Meaning that you have done business for however long it's been open and you have talked with people about the things that you're selling, right? So you know what people are struggling with in a general sense. So that's always where I have people start. So let's say you have like a monthly newsletter. So you could say, like just sending out an email, it's like, okay, this is like these folks struggle with when they're trying to make this kind of a decision on if they want to go on this particular kind of retreat. These are the 3 or 4 things they're always asking me. And these are usually the responses. So that kind of an email is hugely valuable. You don't have to actually have any kind of call to action at the end. You could say like, hey, if you like this, give me a response. But you don't have to say like, hey, if you want to do this, buy my stuff now. But that's just hugely valuable. And that's a touch point, even if they don't respond.
Hey guys, it's Shannon. If you've been dreaming about hosting retreats or taking your existing retreats to the next level, let's make it happen together. Join me August 22nd through 24th for an unforgettable retreat leader mastermind experience. It's going to be located on my ranch in the beautiful Texas Hill Country. Here's what you'll get when you hang out with me and an amazing group of like-minded leaders. Learn my top strategies for marketing, business operations, and selling out your retreats. Connect with other passionate retreat leaders in a high-vibe, supportive circle. Recharge, relax, refresh, and soak up all the inspiration our ranch and our staff have to offer because you deserve it. This isn't just another workshop. It's a chance to step fully into your role as a heart-centered leader while building a business that thrives. I'll be right there with you, sharing everything I've learned from the years of hosting retreats and running my own venue. Spots are super limited, so grab yours now at profitwithpurposemastermind.com. Let's create retreats that transform lives, starting with yours. That's profitwithpurposemastermind.com. I can't wait to see you there. Yes, yes. And I'm glad you kind of pointed out what a touch point is. A touch point doesn't
Mm,
have to mean you've called them 10 times or
yes.
you've even like several different things. And it could be that they just have access also to you, to your podcast or
Mm,
to your blogs or to your content. And that could also be a touch point, right? Because in my opinion, and I don't ever want to take a word away from the word selling because I'm not afraid of selling. Selling is
mm,
selling, but selling is
yes.
also serving, right? I mean,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
especially when you believe in what you do, right? You
Mm,
believe in your product, you believe in your offerings, you believe in what you're providing. And so it's almost to me a disservice if you are not talking about it, especially with the people who have expressed any kind of interest.
100%. You have to stay in front of people. And I mean, the other roadblock that people often think is that you're bugging people. I mean, people think about that all the time, particularly when it comes to sales. If you're not comfortable with it at all, I mean, like it's kind of it's a little bit of a balancing act when people are like, I don't want to annoy somebody, but I also want to sell stuff. Like I got to make some money. So, I mean, there's an inherent risk of annoying somebody, but the thing that we have to think about when we're talking about sales is who is your audience, and particularly for entrepreneurs, that can be a really hard thing to figure out. Is like who are the people you are actually talking to, because when we first start, we want anybody and everybody, right? Any dollar is a good dollar. And particularly when you get started, that can be true to some degree because we have to make sure the lights stay on, right? But eventually we hit a point when we are doing well enough where we can start to say no, meaning that, these kind of people because of X, Y, and Z reason, those are not my target audience because of whatever your reasons are. So start marketing, start finding the places that those people are reaching out and start just staying in front of people as much as you can because that's really what it comes down to in terms of the long-term success of a business. Stay in front of people consistently and provide value and serve them, as you said.
Yeah, so I'm a big, big believer that you narrow down who your audience is and you
Mm,
really zone in on that.
yes.
I'm not too much depending upon your product, but for retreats especially, I'm not too much of a fan of like selling to everyone because I feel like if you're selling to
Mm,
everyone, sometimes you're selling to no one.
yeah.
But I love when you brought up the objection that can come up, which is people might think, well, I'm bugging them.
Mm,
And to your point, if you are talking to the right person, if they are your audience, you're not bugging them. Like
mhm.
you're really not bugging them. If you are bugging them, then they're not your people anyway.
Yeah, and hopefully they're opting out. Like you want those
Yes.
people to opt out. Like I
Yes.
mean, everybody has like a newsletter or some sort of like, drip campaign nowadays. If you have those people getting on your email list and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm losing people on my email list," that's probably good. That's probably a win. Like you don't want like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on your email list. You want the people that are actually responding and interested in what you are offering. Because again, anybody and everybody does not make sense and it is not a sustainable way to grow a business.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Talk to me about your thoughts on objections, right? So
Mm,
that's just part of the selling process.
yeah.
Somebody you made some touch points, they're kind of considering it, and then they're like, "Yeah, but XYZ." What are your thoughts and kind of talk to me about your belief system around that?
So, I mean, again, I've been in sales for a long time. Objections are a part of selling. But what it really comes down to is how hard you're selling. Meaning that if you have an offer and you get somebody on a Zoom or a call or whatever it is, meet them in person, whatever you're meeting, whatever your process is. If you sit down with them for a meeting to see if it makes sense for them to come to your retreat or whatever it is, and that is the point where you have to either close the sale or not, then that's when we start talking about the hard sell. Meaning that, say like Shannon and I, we sit down at some point to see if a retreat makes sense for you. And you start saying, oh gosh, well, I do think this would make sense for me. But man, I don't know if I have the money right now. I don't know if I have the time right now. I have X, Y, and Z going on, all this kind of stuff. That's when you start again, if this is your process, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And you start handling those objections. Meaning you start saying things to the effect of like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I don't know if I can afford it right now. Well, for me, in my mind, if we're talking about these like health kind of retreats, I mean, the first objection handle I would think of would be like, well, you told me you can't afford it, but can you afford not to? So, like, I mean, handling those kind of things and finding the time and again, this is where the curiosity piece really comes into play. Because if you are just getting on the call or whatever it is and just talking to them for 20 minutes and they think, okay, do you want to buy? That is not the proper way to sell. Selling again is it's two-thirds, one-third. You should be listening two-thirds of the time and talking one-third of the time. And hopefully a lot of what you are saying to them are questions. saying like, why do you want to go on this retreat? Like, what kind of issues have you been having in the past? Have you gone on retreats before? Like finding a bunch of questions to ask, which again, anybody listening to this, you guys know the questions to ask. You know them. I promise you, I promise that you do. Just find those questions and start practicing a little bit. So for me personally, and again, this might hopefully doesn't scare anybody, but I'm a really big believer in practice makes perfect in pretty much every aspect of life, and especially when it comes to objections. Now, nobody wants to sound like a robot, but you have to practice these things and make sure that they're stuck in your head and you feel comfortable saying them. Now, when I say practice, I don't mean like, okay, well, I need to get 10 calls on the phone, I need to get 10 potential clients and see if I can get this to work. That isn't what I mean. You don't want your real life scenarios to be when you are practicing. So find like your spouse or your friends or your coworkers or just whomever you think would be willing to do this with you on a semi-regular basis, at least hopefully once a week if you can manage it for half an hour and just like, hey, can you just practice some of this stuff with me? I'm trying to work through some things. Just practice it with me so that when it does come time to close some folks, I'm comfortable doing so.
Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too. Ooh, okay. So I feel like we've uncovered two really, really important things here. The first one I'm hearing is honestly, I think the more questions and more curiosity you have, probably the less objections you're going to incur anyway, because
Absolutely.
they're talking, they're sharing their heart, they're sharing what they're needing and what they're looking for. And if you're a match, you've really uncovered a lot of it there. So I feel like just the more questions you ask, the more curious you are about them. And truth be told, if you're feeling like this isn't a fit, I think the best practice is to say, I don't think my retreat's a fit, but let me help you with this way, right? Because then that all comes back around later on. So I love that so much. The other thing is practice, because again, and this could be a lot of different things. It could be obviously for phone calls. It could be, face to face. It could be Zoom meetings that you're practicing for, but it also could be like what kind of responses on your emails or your social media messages, running it by other people. Like, hey, someone brought up this objection. What do you think? What if I responded this way? I like my friend ChatGPT to help me sometimes brainstorm.
Yes.
And so, but I love this because I know that it's not happening. I know that retreat leaders listening to this show right now are not going, hey, Jacob, can I practice with you? I'm about to have a meeting with someone who's interested in my retreat. And can I practice with you some objections that I know are commonplace? And the two most commonplace ones are time and money, both or one or the other. And so I love that so much because that really helps the retreat leader to hone in on like, what areas am I missing that this is still an objection in the first place?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love what you're saying, especially because like if you guys go into, I mean, there's always going to be kind of weird one-offs where I don't know, somebody buys a retreat, like they're like, oh my gosh, my grandma died and all this stuff. Like you're gonna have some weird stuff happen sometimes, right? That's part of the business world. But if you can go in to a sales type conversation, knowing at least a couple of the objections you're probably likely to get, then you can do a really hugely powerful thing where you can address them before they're brought up. Where like you were saying, Shane, you can ask the questions like, for example, you can say, hey, like, this is like a, weekend long retreat or whatever it is. How are you gonna manage like your kids, or how are you gonna find the time for this to make sense for you? And like that will let them bring up like, oh well, my parents are gonna watch my kids and da 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 da. Like that's gonna really let them talk through those things. So, because really, what at the end of the day, what we're hoping to get out of a sales type conversation is to address any potential concerns that they have. So, at the very end, when we are doing what I call a close, which again, some folks can practice this too, because people can get uncomfortable with this, where you're actually asking for the business, where you actually either where you can say like, I mean, you can research this. There's a ton of closes out there, but you can say like what we call like a hard close, where it's either a yes or a no. Like, do you want to buy this? Yes, I do. No, I don't. But you can also do like some alternative closes, and you can say like, let's say you have retreats, all year long. Let's say you can say like, okay, so like, is it fair to say that this makes sense for you? Yes, it does. That's a hard close, but it's a little bit softer. And then you can say, okay, well, we've got, 3 retreats coming up on this date, and this date. Which do you feel like makes the most sense for you? Now that's one of my favorites because either any answer they give you is a yes. So I mean, again, try out some of these things, feel what works for you. And again, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get and the more business you will end up getting.
Yes, to all of this. I'm loving this so much. And I'm thinking that retreat leaders, as you're listening, you're thinking, I need the practice, I need the help, I need the support, I need the accountability. And so, Jacob, if somebody wanted to work with you to get all of those things so that they can 100% increase their sales, how can they do that?
So the easiest way to find me is through my website. It's just jacobhickscoach.com. And make sure to hit up the Growth Hub. I've got a lot of like free resources on there for you that you just download or email to you. But I said also, if anybody's out there like listening to stuff, I do have my own podcast called Purpose Driven Progress. I got a lot of great stories on there for you too. And honestly, just as a free gift, I love what you guys are doing. As a free gift to all of your listeners, I'm happy to give everybody a free hour of coaching if they want to explore it and see if it makes sense and we can dive into some fun things.
Oh my gosh, y'all, if you do not take advantage of that, I don't even know what to tell you because that is a huge, huge gift. So I will have all of that information linked in the show notes, including Jacob's podcast. And y'all, I cannot even say it enough. You've got to get a hold of this free gift and make it work for you. So Jacob, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Oh, Shannon, thank you so much for having me. This has been, a fantastic conversation. Absolutely loved it.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.